was a win. I wanted to do a quick walk around of my Can-Am 2019 Can-Am Defender XMR. Boy, extremely pleased with this machine. I'll do a quick walk around because I'm going to be posting some more videos on some modifications or some accessories to this machine. We'll start in the front. Standard on the machine is a 4,500 pound Can-Am winch Terra 4.5. It's mounted up high on the frame to keep it out of the mud. I haven't driven this thing in deep mud at all. I've taken it through some water holes. I've had it on the trail with the Cryptic 30-inch tires, which these are not. They are now on my Outlander Max XTP. These are Evil 1 tires. They're 32-inch tires mounted on stock Defender XMR rims. And for a lawn tire, for a trail tire, these were recommended by my dealer. Awesome. Love it. As I say on my channel, I love it. Great lug. Does not affect the lawn whatsoever, even in wet conditions. Almost like a turf tire, but with those lugs, she's ready for off-road. This is almost an off-road truck tire. Give you a close-up. I did post a video during the winter shortly after I purchased this vehicle. Engineer Dave, both of us set up these doors, the door accessories from Can-Am. It is a half door. He has an inside padding with a little pocket here I've never used, but the door is great. Very pleased with the door. Continuing back on the machine, this is an accessory, a Polaris accessory from my first side-by-side, a 2006 Polaris Ranger. I might have been a 700cc engine, and this is my chainsaw Scabbard, which I loved and cleared so many trees out of my woods. You couldn't even walk in my woods. It was like someone dropped matchsticks on a table with the trees that were down after our October storm. Love carrying my chainsaw on the side of the dump box and on the Ranger. I had to convert this. They're very hard to find, this type of Scabbard setup. I hung on to my Polaris chainsaw Scabbard for the Ranger, and I made a wood block, which I have footage on making this, to convert it to go into these holes on the dump bed of the Defender. So it sits up a little higher, but that worked out perfectly because it clears the fender flares on the Defender. And I'm happy. I got my chainsaw on the side of my Defender. Coming around the back, this was my Ryofab storage box from my Razor S. I will tell you, of all the Razors I've had, XP Turbos, Rangers, Can-Am 1000 Maverick, first 100 horsepower side-by-side. The Razor S was my favorite for running the trail in the Northeast New York State. Ryofab makes a awesome AT side-by-side box. Highly recommend this brand. So as you can see, it's shaped to the back. You can see it's shaped to the back of the Razor S behind the driver's seat to fit that. I mounted it to the bed of the Can-Am Defender, and I just love it. I use this more on the trail than I do off the trail. It is removable with those, if you can see them in there, I can't see. It is removable. Let me tip the bed up. Okay, this is a little better. Quickly removable with these knob nuts. I can pull it out. I save tissue on the trail, or paper towels on the trail. That's what I do. It is quickly removable just by spinning these knob nuts off, and I can pull this out in a minute and I can put it on. It takes a little longer to put it on, but maybe in 2 minutes I can put it back on. So I adapted this to the back of my Defender and love it. You can see the Defender opens less to get at the engine compartment. The Defender XMR, the dump body opens less to get at the engine than it does on a typical Defender. With a rear bumper on, the one that I wanted, the bumper that I wanted, and I have a video on modifying this, the bumper, the bottom tube came up into the upper tube, and it interfered with the Cripic tires that were 30 inches, really 29 inches, and it really interfered with the 32-inch tires. This portion prevented it from opening the dump body all the way to access the engine. I don't think dumping material out of it would have been a problem, but I didn't like the access to the engine. So I modified this S3 bumper. I modified this bumper. I cut the bottom tube as it came up. I cut that off, ground the welds down, and painted it. Had Napa do a color match on this paint because I couldn't get it from Can-Am. And I painted it, put plastic end caps on, and I think it looks awesome on the back of this machine. Give you a look. Some people have asked me about it. I really want to post a video on how I did that. I think most people can do it if they have reasonable mechanic skills. I like it because it matches the front bumper very well. And I like to have a bumper on my machines because I'll run into small saplings when I'm backing up in the woods turning around, and it protects the body of the machine. And I think I still have that protection between the tire, the bottom tube, and the upper tube. One thing about this bumper, it does have D-rings for towing or strapping down the machine. I would never use those. Just worried I would damage the bumper or rack the dump body frame, because this bumper is basically mounted to the dump body frame. I would always use my hitch with my 2-inch insert. This machine comes with a 2-inch insert, and it's great. Another thing you can do with this bumper is add a rear winch. I don't think I would ever need that. We'll see how long I hold on to this machine, but I don't think I'm going to be adding a rear winch. The tailgate is awesome on the machine. Big handle to pull down the tailgate. It is sturdy. I probably hold, well, it says 250 pounds is the maximum weight. I'm a little more than that, but I've been on this machine and it's held my weight fine. The dump body works great on this machine. Fender Flairs, nice. Everything Can-Am makes is a thicker material than Polaris, and I'm not bashing Polaris, but the bumpers are thick tubing. This rock slider, as you can see, I've already had some things slide off it. Looks like 1/4-inch material on that. I love it. Let's go around. I have a roof on this, which I like on all my side-by-sides. I actually, if you can see it, I put an H up there. I did launch my drone from this. I had problems landing it back on, but I did launch my drone from the top of this machine, which was pretty cool. Again, take a look at the inside. The seats are superior to any utility / sports side-by-side that I've seen. Comfort wise, you're sitting up in the machine and have a clear view of your surrounding. It's a great touring trail machine, let alone a utility machine around the house. For overkill people, yep, I'm sure it is overkill, but I really like it. Modes of driving, I could do a video just on the modes of driving. I found that I like driving it best in four-wheel drive with nothing locked out on the machine. I'll run it in either normal engine mode. Sometimes if it's real bumpy, I'll put it in econo mode because it dithers the throttle pedal. It dithers the throttle pedal when your foot is bouncing up and down on the throttle pedal. It dithers that so the machine's not jerking. So when it's real bumpy, I'll run it in econo mode, most of the time in normal mode, rarely in work mode. I can lock the rear differential. Again, what's unique for this machines and other Can-Am side-by-side, the smart lock system, I can lock the front differential, which is great on a Can-Am. I think they'd run away with the off-road business if they put this on all their machines. This smart lock will also lock automatically. If I don't have it locked with this button, it will lock automatically. Once it identifies that the front wheels are slipping, it will lock it automatically. I normally drive in trail mode. I'm not sure what the difference is between trail and mud, rarely in mud mode. 4 buttons to control the engine. 1 is for the engine, 3 are for the drivetrains. The differentials is for locking the front and rear differentials. Manually, and the front does it automatically. Doesn't get better than this. Really impressive. This machine is 72 horsepower. When you buy a utility machine like this, it's not about the horsepower, the torque and gearing. This is geared awesome for steep hills. I run them in high in it with 32-inch tires with no issue whatsoever. None whatsoever. I did install a mirror. I'm debating whether to get a tilt out windshield. I like the glass windshield. It doesn't scratch as much. And I like that it tilts out for ventilation during the summer. Really, I want to get the windshield not for rain or cold, but to keep the mud from the trail out of the interior. These seats are great, but the material is very tough to clean and get mud out of it. On most units, and I think this is $1,000 windshield. It's a flip-up windshield, glass. I think you can go like 5 or 10 miles an hour with the windshield up on it, but obviously that would be for summer days working around your yard. We'll latch that. Numerous cup holders throughout the machine. I'm sorry it's a little dirty. There's one on the driver's side, passenger side, 2 in the center. The armrest flips up for a great look. Great look. This flips up. You can buy another storage box for under here, underneath this center seat. I didn't. One thing that's a little weak is I keep pulling this off. You have to push it back to release this center console. Sometimes I forget and just pull down on it and I rip this thing off the machine. Continue to walk around. Another storage underneath the seat, the passenger seat, which is awesome. Polaris copied this. Plenty of storage. I might get some webbing for under here, I don't know. If many of you watch the channels, you know I usually keep machines for 2 years, but this machine I love, and they really haven't done a lot of improvements on the machine since I've purchased it. What do you think of that door closing? Awesome, love it. Let's look at the front suspension, or the suspension on it. I have yet to find a side-by-side stock that has a suspension, A-arms, front A-arms, rear A-arms, that are as strong, as heavy a material as what's on this machine. Look at the coils on these shocks. Now, they're not gas shocks. I keep it on the softest suspension, but look at the coils on this machine, the thickness of the A-arms. Super built. Look at the size. I don't know if you can see it, the size of the front differential and the wires going to it to lock it. Front sway bar, rear sway bar. Let's take a look at the rear suspension. Look at the size of this tubing. This has to be at least 1.5 inch tubing on the rear suspension. It is just heavily built. Look at the size of the sway bar on this machine. That's my thumb. Huge sway bar. Nothing but impressed with this machine. Thoroughly impressed. Can-Am did a great job on it. It's an awesome truck. People have asked me, is there any issues about these 32s? There is some scuffing on the inner fender when I hit an abrupt bump in the trail. I hear it maybe once or twice on a ride. It's, as you can see, it's not doing much of anything. I could stiffen up the suspension. It's on the softest setting. That may help it. I'm not going to. I'm not worried about it as much. I can scuff a little bit on the inner fender. The only criticism I have of this machine is I wish the XMR dump body could open a little more than what it does. I can get at the oil to check the engine oil, but I wish I had a little more clearance to get at it and check it. I did have one of the intake clamps for the CVT. One of those was loose. I had to tighten it. Some other people have some videos on Can-Am projects, and they recommend that you check the Can-Am clamps on the XMR vehicles because some of them are loose. I believe the engine is 72 horsepower, ton of torque, 1000 cc's, just under probably. It more than enough power for how I'm driving this machine. Highly recommend it. Pretty easy to grease, although a little sloppy grease job. Don't let engineer Dave see that. Pretty easy to grease the machine. Pretty easy to wash it down. Probably takes me as much time to wash this machine down as it does an ATV. On the inside of the box there are some tie downs which I have yet to use. Here is the snorkel system, fresh air intake for the engine. The other side is the fresh air intake for the CVT. Man, it's above my head, so it's over 6 feet off the ground with these Evil 1 tires on it. This is the exhaust for the CVT. Has a little bleeder here and loops around, but that's the exhaust for the CVT on the transmission. I think all of you have seen general videos of the storage that's under the dash, and this is removable. I think you've all seen that. We'll see if I purchase a windshield for it and start to enclose this machine and start thinking about a heater. Right now I have some fantastic winter apparel from my apparel manager Jen and Kim, where I'm never really cold when I'm riding during the winter. And this really isn't a trail machine for me. It's really a utility vehicle around my property, and then it's nice to be able to take it on the trail every once in a while. I just think it's cool. I've owned a lot of side-by-sides, but this reminds me of an off-road truck that you see in the desert. Really is an eye catcher at the trailhead. A lot of people want to come up and look at it. I think it's the color scheme, and it's lifted. It's higher than a typical Defender, but the tires for me really catch a look at this machine. So I have to get to work. Cutting some trees up. We'll see if I use this or my tractor. Busy day ahead. Thank you for coming back to the channel and watching. If you ride off-road, please remember to, or motorsports, if you ride motorsports, please remember to wear a helmet and be safe. I hope to see you on the trail, and God bless. Thank you. I hope to see you on the trail.